Welcome to Still Speak Podcast. This is an update on the Gabby Petito case that's unfolding over the last week, and I believe this is day 10 for me since I started following and making videos and updates and what have you about the story. I'm going to discuss yesterday's events and updates. I usually do it at night, but I fell asleep last night, so I wasn't able to do such. It is currently like 8 o'clock in the morning, and my neighbor is currently doing yard work. I do these in my garage because I don't have a soundproof room, and so therefore if you hear anything in the background, I do apologize for that in advance. So yesterday's updates really wasn't much. Unfortunately, after another day of searching the Carlton Reserve, no luck in locating Brian Laundrie, dead or alive. They may or may not have found some evidence, we just don't know. And they ended the search once again at about 6 or 7 p.m. And there was a bit of a commotion earlier in the day when a dive team was called in and people were thinking that they were recovering someone or something from the water. And they may have been trying to recover something from the water, but we know they did not recover someone, or at least not Brian, from the water. And they were asked about this because everybody kind of was like, oh my God, oh my God. And they basically said that this was an overall search. It's just a part of it, right? Because they were already searching for him by land and air, but now they added in water search. And it has been said that this is a 25,000 acre area and it has about 75%, water. The area is underwater. And it said that this 25,000 acre has bodies of water, and they also have swampy areas, and those swampy areas can be 3 to 4 feet deep, filled with alligators and snakes. It's a very dangerous search. And they said they planned on going back today, which is Thursday, and they are back out there. I got the alert about 6 a.m. this morning that they were back out there. They've been pulling about a 12-hour day. And every day that he's not found, it's just so disappointing and frustrating because he allegedly fled last Tuesday. So today is day 9. And he got a 4-day head start because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday evening is when the parents had police come to their home and they told them that Brian is missing and that they hadn't seen him since Tuesday. So that's a 4-day head start, right? Then they searched for him on Saturday and Sunday from the Northport side of this reserve. They stopped on Monday for an entire day. They suspended the search and they went and executed a search warrant at the Laundrie home. And then they went back out there on Tuesday and Wednesday, and on these 2 days, they started on the opposite side of the reserve, on the Venice side. So really, in reality here, 5 out of the 9 days he's quote-unquote been missing, nobody's been looking for him. Frustrating, right? Because if you think about this, right, so he has a 4-day head start. Okay. And then they search for him Saturday and Sunday, right? And the area is extremely large, so he may not even know they're there looking for him. But then again, there was helicopters flying over and drones flying over. And if these buggies and ATVs are driving through water, that's a really loud sound, and they were all spread out. So this is possible that he's out there and he's hiding out. He actually sees all that's going on. But if that's the case, then by Monday, when they weren't searching for him, he could have easily been like, I need to get the hell out of this area before they find me, and moved on to now another area. But then they went back there on Tuesday and Wednesday. So, I don't know. I don't think they're just there because his parents said that's where he went. I think initially that was the case, and I think they went back after maybe getting some kind of clue once they went to the home that sent them back there. I just don't know that Brian has been out there for 9 days in this alligator-infested, bear-snake-infested area, surviving. I don't know. I just don't know what to think at this point where Brian is. And my frustration is not me blaming the cops for why he has not been found yet. They're literally trying everything. It's not from lack of trying. They really, really are. I mean, drones, ATVs, swamp buggies, helicopters, and sonar, and dive teams, and they even contacted the governor to get as many boots on the ground as they possibly could. So they're really, really trying. They are. I just don't know where he could be. I'm not sold that he went to this reserve to kill himself. It doesn't make sense to me, because I think, like, if you're that desperate or you really want to end your life, why go there to do it? Why not just kill yourself in the house? Or in the backyard, or in the shed. Maybe he didn't want to do that to his parents. Okay, so he goes to this reserve to kill himself. Okay, so why go all the way into the reserve to kill yourself? Why not just go into the beginning part of the reserve and shoot yourself in the head and be done with it? I mean, I know suicide isn't like a logical thing here, but I don't know. I just think if he did kill himself, or he had intent to kill himself, he would have just done it in the home. Excuse me, my voice. So I don't know. Everybody keeps asking me where I think he is. I don't know. I don't know. I think some of the theories of where he possibly can be are completely off the wall crazy. To survive and get away, you need a lot, right? If you're hiding out in the woods area, you're going to need food and fresh water. And this is a swampy area. I don't know that there is any fresh water out there. There may be, but does Brian know that? And food, and to get places, you need some form of GPS or map or something to that effect. You also need, like I said, food, and you need money if you're going anywhere that's not sitting in the middle of the woods. At the same time, I'm not totally sold that he went to somewhere to kill himself. Now, I know people go some places to kill themselves, like jumping off a bridge or hanging themselves from a different area. I get that. I guess I'm just saying that it's really a mystery, right? Not only is the death of Gabby a mystery still, or we don't have really much to go off of as far as confirming his involvement with her murder, even though most believe that, I don't know. This is also a mystery, too. Where the hell is Brian? Is he alive? Is he dead? Is he in the reserve? Is he in Mexico? Did he leave from Miami? Is he in Alabama? Is he in Texas? Is he halfway across the world? Did he go back up to the Wyoming area to hide out in the national parks, or in Utah or Colorado, or nobody knows? So anyway, Richard Stafford, the Petito and Schmidt family lawyer, put out a public letter to the Laundrie family lawyer, Stephen Bertolino, yesterday, and demanded that he remove pictures of Gabby from his Yelp page. And the letter to Bertolino demanded that he cease and desist from posting any pictures of Gabby to any social media pages, web pages, or advertisements in an effort to drum up business. And he said that the family tried to remove the photo themselves, but they were informed that only the business owner can do that. And he ended with saying, "I'm sure this will be taken care of by 2 p.m. or I'll take further action on behalf of Gabby's family." Well, upon further looking, it was a review, because that's what Yelp is. You can leave reviews. And somebody had put this picture of Gabby up. So, Steve Bertolino told ABC7, "That's disgusting, just so you know. My website and every review site I don't control have been overrun by John Q. Public. Indeed, Yelp actually shut down the site due to the amount of fake comments on it. I have not advertised any sort of business in over 20 years, and I would certainly not use this case to drum up business." So, this was I think a misunderstanding, because, that makes sense, right? If a business was able to remove bad comments, that wouldn't be good, right? Then you'd only see the fake good ones, or the good ones, I should say. And so I think this was just a misunderstanding, that it wasn't actually Steve who did this. This was somebody from the public who did it. Now you can say he should have removed it, but again, sometimes you can't, because you can only remove certain things or only control certain things on that site. And indeed, Yelp actually also contacted ABC7, and they said that the picture had been removed, so that's good. And this employee clarified that only the reviewer who posted the review, not the business, can remove contact. So one of two things happened here. Either Yelp and Steve reached out to and find out who the reviewer was and asked them to remove it, or Yelp actually, stepped in and got it taken down, because I'm sure Yelp can do that, right? So I think that was a misunderstanding, but can you really blame the lawyer and her family for being completely livid to see their daughter's face on his Yelp page? I mean, they're going to be really upset by that. So I'm glad that got settled. And a member of the press contacted Bertolino and asked him about why he canceled his press conference that was scheduled. He scheduled it Monday to take place on Tuesday at 1 p.m., and then later that day, he canceled it and said that after speaking with the FBI, he has decided to cancel the press conference. He didn't reschedule it. So this reporter reached out to say, why did you do that? And he said that it was no longer in the best interest of his clients, which is really interesting because what was said on the phone with the FBI that made him think that holding this press conference now would not be in their best interest. And that was the same day that they executed the search warrant at the home. So, that's super fascinating to me. And this person who asked him about this also asked him, and I'm really not sure why, if he knew where Brian was and if he knew if Brian was alive or dead. I think this is just a silly thing to ask. I mean, is he really going to admit, I know where Brian is, I'm just letting the FBI run all around Carlton Reserve for no reason? I mean, obviously he's not going to admit to knowing where Brian is, okay? So why would you even ask that? It's just kind of silly. And last night I read a statement from the across the street neighbor, Charlene Guthrie, who claimed the family went on about life prior to knowing that Gabby was missing, and she said they were acting like nothing was going on, and she mentioned that Brian was seen by her mowing the lawn and taking bike rides with his mother. Well, Charlene and her husband William did a TV interview yesterday as well, and they disclosed something that's rather fascinating, but I'm really not sure what to make of it or what it means. I'm still kind of processing it in my brain. But William said that he was doing yard work one day and that he saw the laundries hooking up what appeared to be a new camper to the back of their pickup truck, and they were preparing and loading this camper, and that they went away for 3 days. At the time, of course, they didn't think much of it, right? They just assumed Gabby was in the home or somewhere, and they see them going on this camping trip. Of course, that's not alarming at the time, but then when police knocked on their door to say, we're investigating a missing persons case, they're like, because it's like hindsight, like, wait a minute, they went on that camping trip. What was that all about, right? So, of course, they shared this with the FBI, and they are just now coming to the public sharing this information. And he also said that he thought it was a little bit odd when he did see it, because he was thinking, like, why is this 23-year-old going on a camping trip with his parents? And then he said, in this small camper. I don't think that it's abnormal for a 23-year-old to go camping with his parents, but it is a really small camper. I don't know how many of you have seen it. I'm going to put a picture in this video. But it's small. It's not like your typical camper that I think that most of us think of when we hear the word camper. It's not like it has bedrooms and a kitchen and a dining room and a living room and all sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a little odd that this grown man who would go with his parents on this camping trip, unless he had like a tent with him or something like that. And of course, it's even more odd when you add in the element here that where the hell was Gabby when they went on this camping trip, and now they're finding out that she's, missing. So he was asked when he think this happened, and he said he thought it was about a week after Brian had returned. And Brian returned on the 1st, which was a Wednesday, and as a matter of fact, it was 3 weeks from yesterday that he returned. And Gabby was reported missing on Saturday the 11th, which would have been the following weekend. And that's when police went to the home. And I need to say this because I'll explain. The police did see Brian. Okay? I repeat, and I'm clapping. They did see him. I keep seeing people thinking that he never came back to Florida, that the parents went and got the van, that he left right after he got home, he took off during this camping trip, blah, 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 blah. Sure, okay, fine, you can discuss that. It's a possibility. But when something can contradict your theory or opinion, then it kind of voids your whole opinion and theory, okay? So they have said this. They said it, they said 3 different ways. They said twice that they saw Brian at the home on first contact that day, the day that she was reported on the 11th. They just could not speak to him because if you remember, the parents answered the door and handed the lawyer's number to them. And then they said when they were at Carlton at Reserve, they were asked again, was he for sure at that home? And he said yes. It was 100% at that home at one point. Okay? So, I don't know what to tell you. That's what they said, okay? They said this multiple times. I don't know if people are missing that. I don't know if they don't want to believe that, or it's just they think that the police are lying, because I had a couple of replies when I said this on a post where people were like, well, they also said they knew where he was during the press conference with the chief, and clearly that's not true because they weren't tracking him because he got away. Well, what's actually happened there was that they saw him on Saturday. Tuesday was the chief's press conference. He was asked, do you know where Brian is? And he simply said, yes. That's all he did. Yes, I know where Brian is. And they asked, is he at his parents' home? And he said he wasn't going to comment on that, okay? And everybody took this as they're tracking him. They know where he is. They're keeping tabs. They have cars, in front and back of the house watching it, etc. When that actually wasn't what was said. He simply said that he knew where Brian was. Now, if they saw him on Saturday, right, and this is only 3 days later, then that, yes, we know where he is, answer could be just because they just saw him 3 days ago at the house, right? So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You want to believe some things from the police and you want to not believe other things from the police. But I'm one of those people that's like, if the police say it, more than likely it's true. Yes, they make mistakes. Yes, it happens. But you can consider that they're telling the truth. And since they said this, that 3 different ways that he was at that house and they saw him on first contact, we can believe that that's true. So anyway, got off my point there. So he gets back on the 1st, right? A Wednesday. So you have that weekend, 2 days later, and then you have the following weekend. The following weekend is when she was reported missing. The couple said that, it was about a week after he got back, but really it can only be that first weekend after he got back. And it makes the most sense because that was Labor Day weekend. And, they claimed that they were gone for 3 days, and most people go away on a Labor Day weekend. So it doesn't make much sense for it to be the following weekend because cops went to the home again and they were there. So that doesn't really work. I will put a picture of the camper. It's a very small camper. And, it's just small. I don't know how they all even fit in there, to be honest with you. So anyway, that basically settles it. It could have been only really that first weekend. And this couple seems to be a nice, older, possibly retirement age couple who I doubt is trying to gain followers on social media or wanting attention, but you never know. I don't think that this is, they're saying it was, a week or 2 ago that this happened, but it really happened in April, May, or June. Because remember, Gabby and Brian were gone for 2 months. I mean, I don't think they're going to mix that up because there's a gap of time there. If this was like something that happened in the spring and they're like, oh no, it happened like a week or 2 ago, I don't think so, right? So I think they're telling the truth. I think we can assume that this did happen recently and it wasn't a long time ago. But again, we still have to keep it on the possibility list because we don't have full confirmation, even though they said this is what happened. And I do believe them. So people think that this was a trip for Brian and his family to plan his escape or help him flee, and maybe help him like stock up on supplies. There's all kinds of theories going on. Again, he couldn't have escaped then. He was at the home on the 11th. So, the only thing that kind of sticks out to me is about this camping is that, he just got back from this van camping cross-country type of tent living trip with his girlfriend. He comes back without his girlfriend, and 2 days later he's hopping in a camper and going camping again, but now with his parents. And I wonder how he was on that camping trip, and I wonder where they went and how he was acting and what his behavior was like. I don't know. It's a little creepy. It gives me the heebie-jeebies, to be honest with you, because it's so similar to where he just was at with Gabby, and now he's no longer with Gabby, and we now know Gabby is dead. So, I don't know. Another development today was a woman who spoke out saying that she saw Gabby and Brian on the 27th at a restaurant we now know was called, or is called, the Merry Piglets, which appears to be a Tex-Mex place, which is one of my favorites. And according to locals, they have amazing tacos. So FYI, if you're ever in that area, it's located in Jackson, Wyoming. This woman claimed that there was a huge scene in the restaurant because Brian had been fighting with Gabby and the hostess. Apparently, in her original post on Instagram, she claimed that she was so invested in the case, but on a post in one of the groups, she said that she was not invested and had no reason to lie. So that's a little odd. In the original, she said that she was a table over from them and close to the hostess stand, but that, she alleges that she didn't hear what they were arguing about, like words, like what they were saying, and she didn't really hear what Brian was saying to the hostess other than yelling and cursing at the hostess. But she came to, I guess, the conclusion that it seemed to be about a check. And supposedly Brian went in and out of this restaurant yelling and cursing at the hostess 4 times. Gabby had at some point apologized to the staff and was crying outside on the sidewalk. And I do find it a little odd that she would be this close, or if it was this big scene or she was near the hostess, that you would only really see the yelling and cursing and fighting, but you weren't able to pick up on a single word about what was going on or what was being said. But hey, whatever. And this woman received a ton of backlash on her post. I didn't attack her or anything. I just said something to the effect to remind everybody on the post that just because somebody says they saw the couple doesn't mean they actually saw the couple. It's not a fact. Well, then later in the day, the news reported on this woman's story, and everybody thought, okay, well, now it's true. Well, no, not necessarily, because the news has been heavily covering Gabby's story, and they do news stories for clicks. It's really not their job to verify and check if the story is credible. They're just going to share the story. They're going to give that person a platform to share what happened, right? And later, if they end up being that they were lying, they'll just be like, well, we just gave them a platform. It's not our fault they were lying, right? And there are investigative reporters, but this specific article and what have you wasn't an investigative type report article. So it really kind of blew my mind that everybody was like, everybody who was mean to this woman better apologize. Look, it's on the news, so it's true. No, that's not how it works. And, I need to tell you that, and I said this in another video, in the Chris Watts case, for example, a gay man had come forth claiming all sorts of things, and one of those things was that he had an affair with Chris Watts, and the news gave him a platform. He was on the evening prime news time slot. He was on the national news. He was on HLN. He was all over the place. And it turned out, once the FBI called him in for questioning to see what he had to say, that he was totally full of crap. Now, it's beyond my understanding. I don't know why people do this. I don't know, okay? I'd love to know, but apparently it's for attention, 5 minutes of fame. It's mind-boggling, right? Like, why would you do that? I don't understand. Okay? But I'm seeing people saying, like, these people have no reason to lie. Yes, they do. Of course they do. There's always a motive for somebody to do something, okay? Whether it's they're telling the truth and they came forth because they want to share and help, or they're lying and their motive is to get attention or followers or whatever. I don't know. I would never do such a thing. So I can't fully explain it to you, but it happens all the time. There's even people who confess to crimes they didn't commit. Someone explain that to me, because I don't think I would ever do that, right? So how does that happen? I don't know. And unfortunately, in this day and age with social media, what sucks is that everybody's trying to be seen and gain followers, and some will stop at nothing to get just that. I mean, even look at Gabby. She wasn't like hungry for followers, but she was trying to start this blog to share her passion and gain followers, right? And share that passion with her followers. And we're finding out now that obviously what she was filming and putting together on this particular trip wasn't what was really going on in the background, right? So she went to the measure of editing out the bad parts and only sharing with her followers the good parts to present this image to gain what? People to follow her and for her website to grow, right? Or her blog to grow. So, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? I have a YouTube channel, right? So I'm going to want people to come and watch me. What I'm saying is that some people, and I'm not specifically Gabby or myself or somebody else you may watch on YouTube, but other people, some people, especially Instagram people, TikTok people, they are trying to gain followers, and so therefore they will do and say the most outrageous things just to get views. There was a couple, I think it was in Florida, that was like purposely shooting something at a bus and recording it for their TikTok so they can gain followers. And it ended up, they hurt somebody, something to that effect. So, I don't know. People are just, not everybody's the same, right? We all do weird stuff. Some people do even more weird stuff. Who knows? So, anyways, back to this woman and her story. So, her post sparked, people to contact this restaurant. They were messaging them and commenting on their social media and emailing them and direct messaging them and calling the restaurant and etc. And interrupting this person's business day. And even the news contacted them, and they told the news that they weren't aware of any such altercation, that they would look into it. The people that messaged them, they said the same thing. We're not aware of any altercation like that, and they would look into it, which is odd, because if this was a big scene like this person claimed, and there was an altercation and he's going in and out of the restaurant 4 times screaming at a hostess, you would think whoever was answering the phone, or if it was a manager or a supervisor or something to that effect, they would know about it. Even if they weren't on shift when it happened, typically managers and supervisors and what have you talk with one another. If there was an incident, they would have recalled it, but they claimed that they didn't recall it, but they were going to check videos. And then a short time later, the restaurant posted saying that they can confirm that Brian and Gabby had visited the restaurant. They did not, however, confirm the day or date that they were at the restaurant. They also did not confirm if there was even an altercation, and they did not say whether or not the woman who told the story is telling the truth. All we know at this point out of this entire story was that at some point Brian and Gabby visited this restaurant, and that's not really odd because they were staying in that general area. So going into this restaurant at some point, which appears to be a very popular restaurant for tourists in that area, that's, not odd, right? Because they were in that area, so they went in to get something to eat. Now we just don't know what day, if this really happened, etc., what time it was at, none of that. They said they just gave the footage to police or the FBI, and that they were going to let them do their investigation, which is the right way to do it, by the way. They shouldn't tell us any more information, okay? That's how it should be done. Tell the police, and then that's it, right? So, I mean, good on them. I think that was very professional, and it was the right thing to do. And I say that because I'm very grateful that the vlogger couple who found the van on their footage on the 27th on the side of a dirt road, which helped the FBI to hone in on that specific area. And of course, lo and behold, they found Gabby deceased there not long after. I mean, that's incredible. It really is truly amazing. You know, because Gabby could have been in any state for that matter, but about 10 different ones, really. And their footage made a massive, huge difference and really cut down the amount of places that she could be. That being said, though, it did bother me that, you know, they put this video out there. And I mentioned that the day it happened. You know what? It didn't bother me. It concerned me that they released this video. And to their credit, they did call the FBI first before releasing it. And I'm not sure if they asked permission to release it, but they did a short time after that. And this was released before Gabby was found. So, you know, putting us out there before she's found could have caused some nosy asses to go out there, you know, trample on a crime scene, contaminate the area, destroy any potential evidence before the FBI got there. Also, at this time, Brian already fled, so, I mean, who knows if he fled to that area, and if he got wind of this video, he could have went back out there, moved the body. I mean, all sorts of things could have happened from releasing this video before Gabby was actually found. So I didn't totally agree with how that was handled. Now, they may have asked the FBI permission. I don't know. I just think that it's best to just tell the FBI, put it out there. If they're wanting to share that with the public, they will. We, the public, actually are not entitled to this type of information. And while we're nosy, myself included, and we want everything, give it all the details, right? I think about the investigation, and I think about the family, and I wish people would just tell the FBI and leave it at that, because I don't want any future justice to be interrupted because of a hiccup due to somebody releasing any type of potential evidence or clues or, you know, locations on the internet and social media. So don't be mad at me for that. I just don't think that it was handled appropriately. Maybe after she was found they could have done that. But thank God for their video. I am so appreciative of what they did by finding it and turning it over, because God only knows when Gabby would have been found without that footage, right? So I'm not hating on them in any way at all. Okay, so far I told you about the search. I told you about the brief argument between the lawyers. I told you about the across the street neighbors and the camping thing. We went over the potential altercation at the restaurant. But let's discuss that restaurant a little bit further. The vloggers captured the van around, I think it was 4 or 5 p.m. on the 27th. And the restaurant thing, according to this Instagram woman, was the same day. So let's just put this out here and think out loud for a second. It's 46 miles from that restaurant to the Spread Creek area, according to Google, and it says roughly an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how long they ate, and then drove, you know, if they had any stops, etc. So this would mean that they were cutting it close, or they had just arrived in this particular area of the woods in Spread Creek just before these vloggers caught the van on their footage. So it's not impossible, right? I'm laying that out there that it is possible, but you're cutting it really close. And also, why leave this restaurant and then travel 46 miles to the Spread Creek area? I don't know. Maybe that was their next spot. Maybe they'd been there before and they went back. I'm not sure how that unfolded. The bigger picture here is, does this information really matter? I mean, it does give us a piece of the puzzle, right? And it helps with the timeline a little bit, if it's true. However, the bite part, is it really shocking, or is it is it important in some way? Well, I think so, yeah. But I think we kind of know that Brian killed Gabby clearly after some type of altercation which resulted in her death. If he's guilty of the crime, of course. And there's really nothing in this story that screams that this was a planned murder, like he had decided to kill her before the trip ended all along, or he took her on this trip to solely kill her. And given their incident on the 12th, it's more likely they had another altercation later and she was killed in the process. So them fighting, that part of the story, I don't know that it's really crucial. I think we all kind of assumed there was an altercation prior to her death. Now, this, if true, could be the argument that led to her death. Absolutely. And let's go on. So, in an odd turn of events today, there was a self-inflicted gunshot victim in Northport, and the police were responding to it within a mile of the Carlton Reserve. And police know that the public is trying to listen in on the police scanners. I really don't know why anybody's bothering. They're not going to share that information, knowing that you guys are all watching on there if they find Brian or any evidence. But people are still doing it. And the spokesperson for Northport Police jumped ahead of that rumor and came out and said that it was unrelated. So that was a false alarm. And the groups are becoming unbearable, and a lot of the same things go on in other cases as well that I've followed. But for some reason, this case seems more extreme. I don't know why. Maybe because everything's rapidly unfolding. It just seems like just chaotic. And I said that the other night where I told everybody to just breathe for a second. Woo, calm down. And it's becoming really frustrating. There's just this excitable tone. And I don't mean excitable in a happy way, okay? And YouTube, forget it. The true crime community on YouTube, they're running with every rumor, every live stream, and it's just to cover every single little thing possible, no matter if it's a total bogus nonsense. I can't tell you how many of them have shared that Brian Laundrie was found dead when it was very quickly said that it wasn't him the other day. They're just running with every little thing. And because, shocking and juicy sells. I've said this before on the channel. It just does. It grabs people's attention. The more crazy or shocking or salacious or the more they want, the more they eat up, okay? They just love it. That's just how the public is. This is why Jerry Springer was such a popular show. Or Maury. So, and what happens is that people end up losing sight of the case itself and the actual facts of the case. But I need to remind people, and I know you know this, but I'm just putting it out there as another reminder that this is a real life story with real people. And one of which was recently killed, and at this point we know she was killed by somebody else. And you can tell that people really cling to the mouth-dropping, juicy drama and shocking things, because just look at the comments or the reactions with the shock faces on all the posts. Every little post, every word said in the news, every TikTok video claiming to have knowledge is just eaten up. They love it. And what's frustrating is that when someone like myself and many people that I know try to point out that something is not a fact, or we say to you, well, that may not necessarily mean that. It could mean this, and gives a different view of something being discussed. The hungry mouths of people just pounce on you and then devour you. And I think the reason for this is I think that people form opinions or theories either before or after this source or unconfirmed fact comes out, and they base their whole opinion and theory on that. And so if somebody comes along and sort of pops that bubble by pointing out that it can't be possible, or it conflicts with facts and information, or that person points out that it's not a fact, people get angry, right? Because they want their theory and opinion to be right. People typically want to be right. And so you saying that, basically, you're saying that their opinion or theory is wrong, and so therefore they have this need to defend that rumor or source as much as possible in defense of their opinion or theory. I hope that makes sense. This isn't Netflix, okay? Netflix has amazing drama shows. They're amazing, right? I'm a huge Ozark fan. How many of you are Ozark fans? I know there's a lot out there, and I'm actually really hoping they hurry up with the next season because it's been too long now. Stranger Things, loved it. And one of my all-time favorites is Dexter. God, I loved Dexter. And I even thought Dexter was hot. Obviously, I would never think a serial killer was hot in real life, but I did with Dexter because he's just a character. And they're so well done that you start to believe, or you feel like the shows did happen in real life, or that it could happen in real life. And how many of you get attached to a character, and when they get killed on the show, you act like your cat died? Or you do get upset like that person really died. I know many people do that. I know I'm like, oh my God, they killed him off. No, oh my God, I can't believe they killed him. Right? So, obviously that person didn't really die. It's a script. But we just get so attached. Well, in the case of Gabby Petito, someone really did die, okay? And it's not a part of a script of a season finale. This is a real story. And I would say, hey, if you want to believe everything said on the internet by every Joe Schmo, or run around coming up with these really off-the-wall, insane theories that just seem completely off the wall, that sounds like a movie script or a TV script, by all means go for it. That's your right? And that's what discussion groups are for. The issue that I have is that when these theories or unconfirmed facts or sources are being said and discussed as fact. And it's so easy to make it abundantly clear that something is a possibility or that something is an opinion versus stating it as a fact. It's so easy to do this. And I'm going to give you an example. There was a post where a woman saw another truck in the van video, and she shared it and she said these words: "This is Brian's sister Cassie's truck." Now that's worded as a fact, okay? When we have no idea if it's her truck at all, it's not confirmed in any way whatsoever, and basically she was implying that Cassie went up to Wyoming to help her brother. Okay, that's a pretty big accusation, and you should probably be pretty careful, because this woman has children and a life, to say things like that as fact and basically implicate her in helping her brother when you don't know that, you don't know if that's her truck, etc. And all she had to do was say it like this: "I think it could be Brian's sister Cassie's truck," or "this is a possibility," or "what do you think? Does this look like Cassie's truck?" Not say, "This is Cassie's truck." Because people who are catching up in these groups, there's so many posts to dig through, and people are trying to sort what's fact and what's rumor. So now somebody who's at work all day is trying to catch up, looking in the group, they see this post and they think, I must have missed something today. It must have been confirmed that this is Cassie's truck out in Wyoming helping her brother. And now that opinion or theory or possibility all of a sudden becomes fact. And now people are going to other posts going, well, Cassie's truck was in Wyoming where Brian was with the body. That's not helpful in any way, okay? Just add, I think. It's that simple. And it's not helpful, okay? Because you have to remember that people call these types of things into tip lines. Somebody might call and be like, oh, this internet sleuth found out that Cassie's truck was in Wyoming. And you're bothering the tip line when that's not true. And it's all because this woman said, this is Cassie's truck. So, and I've also used to join in on the discussions in groups about these cases, and sometimes we had amazing conversations, great back and forth dialogue. Even if we didn't agree, we were able to point something out to one another or understand one another. And other times it was knock down, drag out fights over the story. And I've stopped doing that for the most part because it's become nearly impossible to do without having somebody trying to go to blows over what you're saying. And who really has time for that, really, in all honesty, about something that doesn't affect us personally? And in the end, our opinions or views mean nothing. The facts and evidence is what matters, right? So when someone like myself or other people that I know want to tell you that something is a fact or not a fact, because the facts is what's gonna, get whoever's responsible for Gabby's murder or homicide, we don't know if it was murder yet, arrested, then that's what's going to do it, the facts and the evidence. So you got people who are really stickler for facts, and if we come along and try to help you and say, well, this is not a fact yet, it's to help you and other people to distinguish what is fact so far and what is unconfirmed or a rumor. And it also saves you time, typing up some long post that isn't likely that happened or is inaccurate because facts say otherwise. It also keeps you from falling down rabbit holes and, hitting your head and getting stuck down there. Later down the line, when discoveries and evidence comes out, it will make more sense to you to know what was fact all along and what was rumor, so that when you're combing through it, instead of looking at it and going, why are they saying that she died on the 27th when that random chick on TikTok said it was blah blah day? Or, oh my God, I cannot believe the police botched this because TikTok lady, Instagram lady said that Brian, which was hitchhiking, and, he didn't leave the area until this day. Oh my God, I can't believe they messed this up. When really, in reality, that was never true. You made it true, or you so badly wanted it to be true, or someone made you believe that those rumors and sources were true. And it's not that the cops messed it up. It's just that you have now blurred the line between what was fact and what was rumor, okay? And if we took a lot of theories and add in what we have as far as unverified, unconfirmed sources and unconfirmed facts, and we compiled them together, it sounds absolutely insane, okay? And I actually wrote up something where it includes theories, current unverified sources, and unconfirmed facts. And I'm going to read it to you because I want you to see how insane it actually sounds when you say it out loud. And I want to note that this is not my opinion, this is not my theory. It's just theories, unverified sources, and unconfirmed facts all piled into one big story. Okay, so here we go. Brian and Gabby were at a restaurant on the 27th, and then they were arguing, and Brian was yelling and cursing at the hostess and Gabby, but the witness was not totally sure what the argument was about, despite sitting one table over and being near the hostess stand, and then he walks in and out 4 times, then leaves, continues arguing with Gabby, and kills her in the van, and puts her in the back of the van. Or, Gabby leaves him there. She drives 45 miles to Spread Creek, even though she said in the body cam she's not the one to normally drive the van. She picks this location, a random spot in the woods. He somehow locates her exact spot out there, and he starts to hike 45 miles to the spot she was at. And on this 45-mile hike, he calls and tells Gabby's best friend Rose to meet him there instead of coming and pick him up. And the two talk on the phone where they plan to kill Gabby because they're having this affair. And they get there, they kill her, and then they open up the back of the van, and when they do such, a gun drops out and is on the ground with a book, because everybody thinks they see a gun on the ground behind the van. And Gabby was dead in the front seat, slunched over while the vloggers were passing by. And in the distance, Brian, in broad daylight, was digging a hole while his lifeless girlfriend was in the front seat of a van that anyone could have walked up and seen her dead, and him in the field digging with a shovel that he apparently pulled from the sky, because national parks don't have loads. And then he stuck around for 2 days, and instead of leaving with Rose, he decided, I'm not going to take the van. I'm going to go hitchhike this time rather than actually walk on foot. And then he freaks out because he doesn't want to go to Jackson Hole, like the couple mentioned. On his way back, he goes to the van, he decides to take a shower, then, he hikes back 10 miles now, and he gets back to the van, completely avoiding out the entire point of hitchhiking. And at this point, it's like, oh, look at that, I have a van, what a dummy, let me take this back to Florida instead. And before leaving the area, he stops at a bar and he fights with some men, and he seemed really agitated, according to some random man on the internet. And he calls his parents at this point, he tells them everything, and he has them fly in. Hey, maybe they brought the shovel, or maybe they made sure that Gabby was hidden good enough. And then they drive the van back, and he flies home. He got home, and they took their 3-day trip when his parents got back with the van. And then that 3-day trip, they planned his escape, and they helped him to store supplies to do such. And instead of fleeing then, at that moment, he goes back home, and he waits until she's reported missing before he executes the plan and takes off hiding somewhere with all these supplies, and is watching everything unfold from his cell phone in the middle of a body of water, because come on, her Spotify was changing, and he went live from an account that had the name Brian Laundrie on it from the middle of the water for 2 seconds, because I'm sure he didn't think of the fact that he could be traced while planning his escape. He's now on his way to Cuba in a stowaway boat, or he has crossed the border into Mexico and is long gone. That's how it sounds when you take what the sources are saying, unverified rumors and facts and theories, and put them all together. That's what it sounds like. So, again, that's not my opinion or theory. Now, that sounds like a really interesting script, doesn't it? Maybe somebody can put that together for a Netflix series. But is that what happened in this real life story? Or is it possible that all of that happened in this real life story? It can't all be true, right? Or is this a little bit more simple, that they argued, he killed her, he waited for dark, he hid her body in the back of the van until dark, and then he goes and puts her out wherever she was when no one was able to see him or catch him because it's dark outside in the middle of a national park. And then he immediately leaves with the van because he had access to it, so therefore it's transportation. Why hitchhike? That makes no sense. And he got the hell away from that area as fast as he possibly could and drove straight to Northport on an adrenaline rush. He gets there, he lies to his parents. When she's officially reported missing, he flees, and he may or may not be alive. Don't you think it's a little bit more simple than that? Is like that instead of the craziness that I read to you prior? I mean, you really think he was digging in a field in broad daylight? And we now know actually there was no digging, because her stepfather put a cross out where her body was, and there's no hole. She wasn't like in a shallow grave. She was just left there. So that already proves what everybody spent like an entire day saying, oh my God, in the back of the blogger's video, he was digging, somebody's digging back there. Well, that can't be true. She wasn't in a hole. So you guys wasted an entire day and it turned out not to even be true. So I think I made my point here, and I'm not trying to act like I'm, morally superior to you, or that I'm right and you're wrong. I just think people need to be a little bit more careful. And I'm one who often comments on the post and say, this is not a fact. I'm one of many that say that. And I cannot speak for the other people. I can only speak for myself. And when I say that, what I'm saying is that it may be true or it may be not true. We just don't know yet. That's why it's not a fact. And I'm making that known, or I'm clarifying it simply that it has not been confirmed. And I do this not only for the poster, who may or may not know, but the other people who are following along, who are trying to decipher what's true and what's not true. And so I don't think that it's or I don't know why somebody would get upset when someone points that out. I really don't. And I'm sure the other people that do it are doing it for a similar reason. Some people really like to stick to facts, and other people do like the rumors and the shock stuff and the speculation and the theories and what have you. And it confuses people when these rumors and sources and opinions, like I said before, are written as fact. And so people are trying to figure out what the hell's going on here, what is actually true and what is not. And I never said that the restaurant lady was lying, just that the only thing proven so far is that Gabby and Brian at some point visited the restaurant, because that's all that's been confirmed. We still don't know a day, a time, or even if this altercation happened, and we still need more info to make it a fact. So if I say to you, this is not fact, there's really no reason to get defensive, because what I'm saying is true. It's not a fact yet. And this restaurant thing is actually another good example of why it's best to not post what you told the FBI. Because everybody bombarded this private business and blew up their social media accounts and called their phones and contacted them and emailed them and interrupted their workday. And so if this turns out to not be true, that there was no altercation or big argument, you just, totally interrupted a business's entire workday for nothing. And this company had to deal with this and having their phones ring off the hook. And I gotta even wonder if somebody called the tip line, even though this poster said that she called the tip line. But I wouldn't doubt for a second that people would call the tip line to be like, did this woman call you and tell you about this? And I'm not trying to be a party pooper, but again, this is a real life story, and there's a family out there that wants to know what actually happened, the facts. What happened to their daughter, and to get her justice. And I don't think that we should be interfering with that. And I like to be mindful, and I like to use common sense, especially when words on the internet are being said, because those words could be hurtful. They could lead to an interruption to the investigation, or somebody sending it to the family. Yes, they do that. Or to bother the tip line. So I just think that we can learn to just be a little bit more mindful and careful. And what I've noticed that what happens with cases that are pretty high profile, this one's actually one of the most high profile ones I've seen in a while. Chris Watts' case was pretty well known, but it wasn't like this. This is a whole nother level. And in these cases, you have, in these types of cases, people are new to following these cases, okay? And they may not have followed true crime cases before. I've seen this happen in other cases where that was their first case that they got hooked on, and then they started following cases. Oh, there's a lot of people who follow all sorts of cases, and this is not the first case they have ever followed. And so, because this one has had such a far reach, right? It's everywhere. You have a lot of new people to this idea of discussing true crime cases. And so there may be some out there that are just not used to how these things work and how to express an opinion or a theory in a way that shows that it's an opinion or a theory, and more so doing such as a fact. So this is why I'm even saying all this. I'm hoping that it helps those people, that they go, you know what? That's a good point, right? Like, I'm going to be more mindful. And it just be helpful for everybody. It'd be helpful for the police. It's helpful for the investigation. It's helpful for the family. It's helpful for the tip lines, because you're not bothering them with all these things coming into the tip line. And it's helpful for the group and yourself, because in the group, we can separate what's fact and what's fiction and rumor, and keep good track of what is and isn't. So I think I said enough about that. I think I've done a little mini rant about it, honestly, and it's still early morning and I need to go have more coffee. So on that note, I will be bringing you updates with the Gabby Petito case today. I'm also going to be working on an updated timeline. I'm going to make a video just for that. Prior, I was sharing the timeline. I did it twice. The first time was the basic timeline of all the parks they went to. That way we can figure out where she could possibly be. I did it a second time as a reminder of where they went, but this time I added in what we knew to be fact or a possibility into that timeline. And I think it's been about 3 or 4 days since I did that, so now I'm going to update it, and I'm going to add in what we now know as well, including her body being found, when her autopsy was done, and that way we can keep a running timeline of that information. I'm seeing a lot of people wanting a timeline, so I'm going to do that in one video. I'm also going to be talking in a different video, and maybe tonight in my update video, I'm not sure, about how homicide works, basically, because I'm seeing a lot of questions about homicide and what that means and what it could mean, and it seems that a lot of people don't really know. So I'm going to try to break it down into simple terms and words for those who don't know how it typically works. So until next time, I'll see you soon.